214 BCE, Rome advanced on one of the most powerful cities in Sicily. Before them stood Syracuse, a wealthy Greek city with strong walls, harbors, a fleet, and a strategic position controlling the island's eastern coast. For Rome, this was not just another military operation. It was part of the larger struggle of the Second Punic War, when Rome and Carthage were fighting for dominance over the entire Mediterranean. Roman legions, under the command of Marcus Claudius Marcellus, surrounded the city from the land. The fleet pressed from the sea. It seemed that Syracuse would not hold out for long, but inside the city was Archimedes. According to ancient accounts, his engineering machines turned the siege into a nightmare for the Romans. Stone-throwing devices struck ships and soldiers from a distance. Powerful cranes and hooks threatened vessels near the sea walls. Every attempt to storm the city became a dangerous trap. Syracuse held out for nearly 2 years. The Romans could not simply break the city by force. They had to wait, exhaust the defenders, search for a weak point, and use the moment when the city's guard was lowered. Eventually, Roman troops forced their way inside. The defense began to collapse from within. The streets of Syracuse, once a center of Greek culture, turned into a battlefield. In 212 BCE, the city fell. Syracuse became Roman, and the death of Archimedes became the symbol of this tragedy, the moment when the genius of the old Greek world collided with the relentless force of Rome. This was a siege where walls protected a city, machines held back an army, and intellect stopped a rising empire for almost 2 years. In 149 BCE, Rome returned to Carthage for the last time. Once, this city had challenged Rome for control of the Mediterranean. Its fleets had ruled the sea. Its generals had crossed mountains and brought war to the gates of Italy. But now, Carthage stood alone. The Third Punic War was not a war of conquest in the usual sense. Carthage was to be surrounded, broken, and erased as a rival forever. Roman forces landed in North Africa and closed around the city. From the land, they built camps, trenches, siege works, and artillery lines. From the sea, they tried to choke the harbors that had once made Carthage rich and powerful. But Carthage did not collapse. For nearly 3 years, Carthage resisted Rome. The siege became a test of endurance. Roman assaults failed. The defenders adapted, the city bled, but it refused to fall. Then command passed to Scipio Aemilianus. Under his leadership, Rome tightened the siege. The harbor was attacked, the walls were breached, Roman troops forced their way into the city, and the battle moved from the outer defenses into the streets. Carthage fell block by block. The final resistance gathered around the Bursa, the high citadel of the city. Below it, one of the greatest urban centers of the ancient Mediterranean burned. In 146 BCE, Carthage was destroyed. Long before Rome ruled the Mediterranean, and long before the great empires of the classical world, one city became the center of the most famous siege in ancient memory: Troy. According to legend, it stood near the entrance to the Hellespont, watching over the routes between the Aegean world and Anatolia. Its walls rose above the plain. Its gates guarded the city, and beyond the coast, the ships of the Achaeans waited. For 10 years, the Greeks were said to have camped before Troy. Their ships lay pooled onto the shore. Their warriors crossed the dusty plain again and again. And from the walls, the defenders of Troy watched an enemy that refused to leave. This was not a quick assault. It was a war of patience, pride, hunger, and exhaustion. Every day, the city survived. Every night, the campfires of the besiegers still burned outside its walls. The story of Troy is part history, part legend, and part memory. Archaeology has shown that a powerful Bronze Age city once stood at Hisarlik and that it was destroyed more than once. But the siege, remembered in epic poetry, became something larger than a single battle. It became the image of a city surrounded by fate. Inside the walls were kings, warriors, families, and a people waiting for the next attack. Outside were armies bound by revenge, ambition, and the promise of glory. And then came the final deception. The Greeks, unable to break Troy by force, won through cunning. The wooden horse entered the city as a gift, but it carried destruction inside its hollow body. By morning, Troy was burning. Whether remembered as myth, history, or both, the siege of Troy became the ancient world's most powerful story of war. A city that resisted for 10 years. A war fought beneath its walls, and a fall that echoed through the centuries.